I don't wanna be. I do. I'm feeling groovy.
Okay, so we're gonna present you the evolutions of the cocktail library and demonstrate it in the cocktail UIs. So some of you have heard already about cocktail, maybe last year, and so you have to learn it by heart. It's the official page for cocktail, where you can see the basics of the getting started. So let me introduce ourselves. So you have Yannick, so with the lead developer.
Can you hear me, everybody?
Yeah.
Great.
So Yannick is cocktail lead developer, basically. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for stopping. It's sponsor time, I'm sorry. So Yannick is cocktail lead developer, is the main contributor at Silex Labs for some open source software, and he's also co-founder and developer at Intermedia Paris. And I am Raphaël Harmel, so developer, cocktail contributor, and contributor to Silex Labs softwares, and co-founder and developer at Intermedia Paris. Next. So, what is cocktail? That's a big question. Cocktail is a HTML, CSS cross-platform rendering engine, and it's supposed to be a way to bring the HTML and CSS concepts to Axe. So what is a cocktail? It's an HTML and CSS implementation. It uses the HTML DOM API, and it's open source, as you might imagine. So the features of cocktails are the following. So it's HTML for markup, CSS for design, and then for the interactivity it will be using the W3C DOM API for behavior, so the Axe.js API. So it's more application oriented than gaming oriented, but it can work also in standalone mode or embedded in other applications such as enemy applications, and maybe one day in OpenFL applications.
Probably.
Okay, next. So this is a bit, let's say, commercial design. So basically, you take HTML and CSS as input. The little wheels are Axe JavaScript, and it's processed by Cocktail. So as you might imagine, for PhoneGap there's not a bit quirk. In fact, Cocktail is not used, but as I told you, it's for the commercial part when you're selling to customers. And then Cocktail is really useful, mostly for the Adobe Air and enemy part, so that you can target many different devices such as phones, tablets, desktops. And the good thing with Air in comparison to enemy and PhoneGap is that's the only one to target TVs for the smart TVs part, even if some now supports HTML. So it uses, as I told you, the Axe.js API. And why JS APIs? It's a simple question, because most of the people in the Axe community are using the Flash API. It's because we think it's more designed for UIs, so sometimes, like the good concepts of CSS, for instance, to make some application or website responsive, can easily be used by designer to do some thing which can be tricky to do by programming. It's widely used, so there are many, I think most of the people coming of engineer school and technical formation don't learn any more Flash, but they learn mostly JavaScript. It's standard, and also it's what people say is the future. So maybe there's an open door to open to people who don't know Axe, and offer them this open door for them to get into Axe. So the workflow when you're building application with Cocktail is the following. You design in HTML, CSS, so you don't need hardcore developer competencies. And then you add interactivity with Axe.js, so this is more for the developer part. And then you compile with Axe.js, Axe-Flash, or enemy. You can decide on what is the best for you. And so now I think it's demo time. So we just wanted to show you a bit how you can integrate, for instance, with enemy, a Cocktail application within enemy. So it's a way to mix Cocktail and enemy, as you could do with other applications such as Air or whatever. So, it's a roles. After Everland, you all know Everland. So we try to create a game. We are not good in gamings, but we try to do it. And we think it's on purpose for, according to yesterday night, maybe you can continue. So it's after Wasteland comes, after Everland comes Wasteland. So Link has been playing too much Everland. So he's a bit tired, so he wants to go to the bar and request for a good cocktail to Mario. So, you can go. Okay, vas-y toi. Okay. So I'm gonna show you this demo. Up. So basically, so all that you see here is done using the Flash API, and it uses the enemy. Then I'm gonna interact with Mario to order my cocktail. And Mario is going to ask me what's my name. So my name is Link. Okay. So this is done. This part is done using a cocktail. So using all the form parts that you're going to see is use cocktail. And you can see that the basic stuff like tab, for instance, shift tabs works. And also the mouse, you can click on it. But it's a basic stuff that you can do in HTML, but which is bring back to you where you can use it with enemy. So I can choose my drink. I want a mojito, tequila, sunrise. I want to take a white Russian. And then I can select a straw and a lemon slice. Okay. And I can drink my cocktail. I'm happy. I'm drunk. So this was Westerland. So now Yannick's going to show you a bit of the code of Westerland to make you understand how it can be used in conjunction with enemy.
Okay, so what I'm going to show you is how with Cocktail you can mix now the Flash API. Yeah, don't focus on Clippy, please. You can mix the Flash API that you all know and love, and now you can put a bit of DOM API when you need it for like UI stuff, typically like for game menu, start menu, or for inventory if you're doing like RPG type of stuff. So this game, you've got 3 files. So first, this is my little data structure which stores what the user input within the form, so name of cocktail, accessories, and stuff. Now we're going to the main class of the application. So first thing we do in the game, nice, it wraps. First thing we do is we build the scene using the Flash APIs. No, you know this part. It uses a mix of a bitmap and the Flash display list to add child. So for each one, you've got the background. You've got Link and Mario, which are separated sprites, which are added to the regular display list in Flash. Okay, and so this is regular stuff you used to do. Next thing we do using the Flash API is that we add a listener for the keyboard events. So this is the one which is going to show the cocktail view. And now for the interesting part, it's here. So what we do here basically, it's we create a new object called cocktail view. So this is how you embed cocktail within your enemy application, and this is it works like a web view in like in Android or iPhone. If you want to embed some HTML, some a WebKit view inside your application, you've got this kind of API. So what you do, you instantiate this widget. You tell it, all right, so my HTML is this one. You can provide either the URL of the HTML or you can provide directly an HTML string. And so now let's take a look at what kind of HTML we are loading here. So yeah, it's okay to read this. Reading is good. It's big enough. All right. So you see, it's really a standard HTML. You can open that in a browser and well, I won't do it right now, but anyway, you can open that in a browser. You can see, so in the body we've got the image, which is Mario's head. You've got all the container for the free forms which are filled by the user. So this is basic standard HTML stuff you can use. So it works in JS and now in Flash. And you can use also CSS, like inline CSS. You can see here forms are used. Forms are styled using. At first, they are hidden with a display none. If you know CSS, it's basic stuff. And also, you can link external style sheets. So, for instance, there are 2 which are linked. So, first one, this is. For instance, you can set it sets the font for the whole document. It sets the body color. Well, if you know CSS, this is standard stuff. So, no surprise here. got like class selectors, attribute selectors, multiple selectors, and a few different rules. And so this is the style we use. And we also use this little CSS theme, which is used to style the form elements, because by default in Cocktail we choose not to have a default style for like a checkbox or radio button or this kind of stuff. You can style this entirely in CSS. So we created a small theme called Sober, and in it you can see this is the CSS used to style all the form controls. Okay, am I making any sense here? All right. So you can see we have the assets, for instance. Not sure it's a good idea here. Yes. So this is for the button. It's just a CSS or sprite sheet you can use. So typically when you do a game, you are going to want your own custom design, so you can custom all the form elements using a standard CSS and HTML. All right, so let's go back to the code. So this line loads HTML. The next thing you do is that you set the viewport. You say, okay, I have this window where all my enemy application is. I just want to center it, so I'm going to set the viewport, which is X, Y, width, and height, and it's how you make it appear just in the center, you know, in the case of this demo. And next thing you do, the cocktail view object, it exposes a window and a document object, exactly like gs.lib.document or gs.browser.document if you do axe3. So it takes the same kind of API, and it means you can listen for the onload event, which is triggered once the HTML is loaded and all CSS and assets, and you can start applying your own logic to the HTML you loaded. So I've created a small classes, separated classes, which what it does is just so it uses standard DOM API stuff like get element by tag name. You get within this you get all the form elements. You listen for the submit events, which is what happens when you click on the OK button, you know, and based on the type, based on the form which was submitted, we get the data. And for instance, if it's a text field, we get the data. If it's a checkbox, we check which one is checked. So you know, it's really if you're doing like web development, JavaScript, this is standard stuff. But what is nice is that now you can also put it within enemy. And how you do once the form is submitted, it calls a little onWin callback. And how you do the link between the cocktail view and the flash display list is that the cocktail view object exposes this root object, which is basically the top sprite of the cocktail hierarchy. So we can see in this method, this is the cocktail. So cocktail view root is attached to the stage this way. This is how you can get your view to show to actually show in enemy. Okay. So when the user puts input the free form, this is called onWin, and I can actually animate it. We're using Actuate. I animate the root sprite, so you can do this kind of effect stuff. Then it's called end, and for ending, I choose to make another. So the one where link is doing this, I choose to make another cocktail view with another HTML loaded, which is specific to the end screen. Because at first I wanted to do using the Flash API, but I was running out of time, and I thought actually it was really more speedier, you know, to do this just in HTML like the first one. So what I do for the ending is that I have this small HTML template, which I resolve using Axe template, and then I set it as the HTML of my view. All right. Everybody's good. So you know, this is what's just shown you is how you can use Cocktail within game, typically to do menu and stuff. So if you have people working with HTML, CSS, which knows this stuff, you can use this competence to bring into your game. All right. Okay, so that was the practice. Now let's go back to the. I'd like to do a bit of turn to full screen. Okay. So that was the code. I'd like to tell you about a little bit of theory about web engine. What I mean by web engine are stuff like WebKit. Don't know if you're familiar with that. It's what powers Safari, Chrome, and thousands of mobile browsers. Gecko for Firefox, and now Cocktail. They all do basically the same kind of stuff. same kind of high-level task. First thing they do is that they load and parses HTML and CSS files. You know, you can have as many, you always got one HTML file, then you can have as many as CSS as you want. And once they're parsed, they build two major data structures with it, which is the DOM and the CSS OM. So the DOM is it's well known. It's a document object model. It's the public API of the web. You know, get element by ID, get element by class name, append child, those kind of stuff. You're all familiar with them. And the CSS OM is object model for CSS. So it's more like a collection of all the style sheet you get within the document, where you can access each CSS rule in a type fashion, object-oriented fashion. So this is a parallel, another tree. Once you've got the DOM and CSS OM ready, what you do is you cascade the styles. So cascading styles, I'm sure you're familiar with it. It means that each node in the DOM is going to end up, for each supported styles within your web engine, like display, width, height. Once cascading is done, each node knows what style it has for each value. So you know, once and the first thing you can do once the node knows all of its style is that you can lay it out. So layout for a node, it means that I'm going to find its bounding box, so x, y, width, height, in the viewport space. You know, for instance, in this viewport, I know that for the web engine box, I know it's like a x, y, 100, this kind of stuff. So after you've done layout, you've got all the bounding box of all the elements, and the last step you need to do is actually render the document. So what you do is, for each node, you say, okay, now you can render yourself, you know where you are on the document, and it's about a dozen steps or so. It's defined in a CSS spec, and rendering is like first drawing backgrounds, and drawing borders, and drawing my embedded asset if I am a picture, an image element. So this is all the kind of stuff. Camera. Okay. Where was I? So yes, so then loop. So once you've done all this, it's very nice. You've got a nice document printed on your screen, but you've got the user who is going to mess with your beautifully rendered documents. So that's when you invalidate stuff. I think the Prime VC guy are quite familiar with this kind of concept. Great job, by the way, guys. Very impressive. And so where was I? Yeah. Once you're ready, for instance, you take the user. Each take his mouse is going to hover some node just to mess with it, and it's going to invalidate the cascading of this particular node, because now the node matches the pseudo class over. So you have to do the cascading of this node again. If it does change any style, you're gonna have to layout it and render it again. So you want to do that less possible, because it gets quite expensive. Okay, so that's basically what Cocktail is doing, and how it all works in a standard, in a browser. They all do the same stuff. Okay, next, one other key aspect of a web engine is portability. You know, WebKit is so popular because you can port it to a lot of different processor architecture, a lot of OS. That's why, you know, it's everywhere on mobile. It's omnipotent. Present? Omnipotent? Does it exist? No, don't know. Well, anyway, and a trick in WebKit, like you got like 80% of the code base is portable C++ code. You know, it doesn't rely on any specific API targeted to Windows or Mac OS. So you've got most of the code which is already done, you get for free, and then you add a port, which is all the specific, the things specific to your target. For instance, like doing graphics, you know, and we use the same architecture, high-level architecture in Cocktail. So, thank you. You've got two main packages in a Cocktail code base. It's core and port. So core has only cross-platform code. You know, it's a cross-platform axe, so you can build it to any target, Flash, enemy. You can even do server-side with it. I'm not sure if there is any point, but we did it because we can. We could. So the core package is cross-platform, you know, PHP, Nico, whatever you want. And you've got a port package which, on the other hand, only contain specific code to native APIs, you know, like the Flash API stuff. So for now, the one port we added is the Flash, Air, and Enemy port. And what it means, so I'm going to take an example. Let's say you've got a div in your document which you want to render. You know the div is like 100 pixels width and height. It has a red background color. So what happens in Cocktail is that the core package knows all of this stuff. It can lay out this div, you know, this abstract thing which comes from the DOM. But at some point, you're going to want to actually draw, you know, the rectangle on the screen, and that's when the core packages call into the port packages, and it says, okay, please, here are all the information. I want you to draw me a rectangle on the screen. And for the case of Flash or Enemy, it's going to use like the bitmap data API, like copy pixels or draw rect or those kind of stuff. So that's how it works, and I think it's fine. Okay, so next status. Where are we actually right now? What works, what doesn't? So for the DOM, we've got most of the more popular method like get element by ID, get element by class name. These work. These are okay. We use them a lot. Next, you've got DOM events like add event listener, remove event listener, dispatch event. This works also. And for each DOM node, you can you get also all of the callback. Like for instance, for each DOM node, you can say dot on click, dot on mouse over. Those kind of standard JavaScript stuff. We have a CSS parser, so which, as you saw before, which parses CSS selector, CSS style value, this kind of stuff. For CSS 2.1, most of it is in there. What's lacking is like list and table style related, so it will be nice, but it's going to be in the future. HTML4, so you got all the semantic tag like paragraph, div, all of this kind of thing works because they don't need any specific implementation. You have the anchor tag, the image tag working. You have a form tag, you have input tag, but not all types of inputs are supported right now. So this kind of stuff. And for HTML5, we have an implementation of the video and audio tag. Although for now, they only the video is actually only displayed when you target Flash or Air, because in Enemy for now we don't have, you don't get video. All right. So what's next? What the important thing for the roadmap is for CSS3, like the most popular one, like border radius, box shadow, gradient, those kind of stuff. We need them. They're not so now at the point where we are now. They are pretty easy to implement. So that's the next step. Media queries also. It's not that hard as it sounds. So it's going to be nice. And ending CSS 2.1 will be nice also. So list and table styles. So just to have kind of completeness, although they are not very popular, especially table styles. But anyway, we'll see. And HTML parser, because for now it uses the Axe XML parser. So it takes actually XHTML and not true HTML, and an HTML parser is on the work by Thomas Festivo, who is not here, but he's working on one and he's starting to get it working. All right, so now for the bad news. So performance, so they are adequate. I think it's a real word, I didn't look it up. Adequate, is that a real word? Yeah. So you won't get 60 FPS if you do crazy CSS transition, because we implemented a CSS transition in that, and also a bit of CSS transform, but it's not quite there yet. So not 60 FPS. But you know, for now, you can, if you do static stuff, static menu, it works quite well, and it's fast enough so that the user don't see that the screen is updating, this kind of stuff. So performance is next step for us. It's getting pretty stable. So first thing to work. No, can you go back? No spoilers. Next, first important thing. First, the bottleneck are the cascading and layout, which needs to get more clever. You know, each time you change something in the DOM or in the CSS, it needs to do less cascade and layout. So there are a lot of optimization possible. It takes time. And after this is resolved, I could say, the next bottleneck will be rendering, because for now it is a software rendering in a Cocktail. What does it mean? Is that you get one big bitmap taking all the viewports, and everything is drawn on it. And like Joshua said earlier, it's all right for CPU, for desktop, it works pretty well. That's how we've been doing Flash for a lot of years. But on mobile, where you have a good GPU but not good CPU, it's not, in the end, it's not going to be the right choice. We're going to need some kind of compositing, typically done with like WebGL stuff or OpenGL stuff. So it will be coming. All right, and for issues, the main issues you're going to get right now are layout quirks. You know, it's actually the hardest part to implement in a web engine is layouts. There are a lot of little things which can break. So if you use it right now, be prepared to take it like it's fun, you know, to break the thing. But it might remind you a bit of IE6 if you were there, you know. But it can be ironed out pretty quickly, I think. All right, so that's it for me.
Okay. So what can I say now?
It was launched by a friend, so it's not very sincere, but thanks. Thanks.
So you might think that it's maybe the way we presented it like a prototype, but we are already using it with customers. So these are two use cases that we have chosen. So the first one is for eBuzzing. So eBuzzing is the leading global platform for social video advertising. And what they wanted, so they are focusing on advertising with video players. They are taking YouTube streams and Dailymotion streams, and they inject advertising before, after, over. And the thing that they wanted, that they had before using Cocktail was two flows, one JavaScript flow of development and one Flash flow of development. So they have two players, and they needed to have the Flash player for Facebook sharing, for instance. So they asked us they finally decided to use Cocktail because it was a way to have a simple workflow to target these two platforms. So maybe you can click on, I think it's on the player or on, yeah. Yes. So if you, just a quick demo so you can see, no connection, no connection, yeah, maybe.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And if you can open the other tab with the same address with Flash, adding Flash at the end of the address. This I'm going to show you the JavaScript version and the Flash version, and they are exactly the
Flash?
same. Yeah, Flash, yeah, that's it, yeah. Okay. Okay, so you can see...
It is the same version,
it's the same rendering.
Blank screen, you know. Okay, let's move on. We'll show exactly if anyone's interested, you come see us afterwards.
So basically, what I was going to show you is this player where you have interactivity. So all the things that you see have been done using HTML and CSS. All the bars, the buttons, the sharing buttons, and they have exactly the same rendering on both platforms. So it was for eBuzzing, and then the next one, the last project that we worked on, it's for TF1, which is the first French TV channel. And so we realized this application, which is called My TF1 Connect. So it's supposed to be the second screen application for this channel. So when you look at the TV, you have your tablet or your smartphone next to you, and you can have additional content on it. So basically here, for instance, you have the live stream. If you want to close it, you can, because you can be in front of your TV. Here you've got the replay. You can scroll in it. And here you have the tweets. So there were multiple additions all the time. They asked us to add some functionalities. Like the last one that we added is during the live, during the news, in fact, at 1 p.m. or 8 p.m. When it's switching to the news, the live feed, the live tweet feed is replaced by the live news feed, where you get all the information that the speaker is talking about. Like if there's a war, I don't know, in USA, you know, it takes war in USA. You want to know more, and you have the details, and you can interact, and then all the feeds are pushed live with what the speaker say. So this is it for the two main presentations. If you want to see it live, I have it on some tablets. I don't have the cable to show it live to you, but it's just there, so you can see it if you want for all the details. Okay. So in fact, so this was a Cocktail for Game UI. So here is, as I told you, the official address. As a little, just before going to try to Cocktail, just as a little conclusion, in fact, Cocktail, in this presentation, we used it with NME to show you how it can be integrated with NME, but it can also be used in a standalone way. So there are multiple possibilities for this tool. So, and the latest stuff that Yannick successfully did the last week is try Cocktail. So please try.
Which is probably not going to work.
Yeah.
So the idea is that in your browser you can see the JavaScript rendering, browser rendering, then Flash rendering, and you type in HTML, CSS, and you try to break stuff.
Okay.
And it's not too easy.
No connection? Okay.
No, I don't think we're not allowed.
Yeah, you think? Okay, so maybe...
but it's pretty good.
Yeah. It's too bad, man.
Yeah, not great.
Okay, so anyway, so you can try it online.
So if you want to try right now, this is a URL.
You can find it on the official cocktail page, this link, and you can really try to test it with HTML, CSS, and the rendering in both Flash and JavaScript.
It's working for me.
It's working for you?
Yeah,
okay.
we don't get. Yeah, okay. it is supposed to work, but on this computer, I don't know what's. All right, so that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And if you have any questions, that's the time. Moi, je vais essayer de faire marcher le truc.
I can hear you.
Okay, so you say you are supporting all the DOM API, but is it possible to have a JavaScript library like jQuery or?
Excellent question. Can you? Yeah, everybody heard? Yeah. Yes and no. But maybe yes. Mainly yes. Next step for this. So like last week, someone on the mailing list, Rock Swang, launched an HX query libraries where you can use a selector like in a jQuery, you know, to get DOM elements. So I did a small contribution to make it work with HTML elements. So yes, you can use that right now with Cocktail, and in a short term, like next month or so, there is now a standard API which does the same thing as jQuery. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called a selector API. It's which means on each node, DOM node, you've got a query all and query method where you put a CSS selector. Is anyone familiar with this? Yeah, good one. Yes, and so this does it does the same thing as jQuery, but it's standard, so it's going to be put into a Cocktail pretty soon. It's pretty cheap to implement, so yes, it's going.
Okay, nice.
Couple months.
Thank you.
And Try Cocktail is finally working.
Yeah.
So I can show you quickly.
So this is JavaScript, and this is Flash.
So you can see the same rendering, and you can edit directly the HTML or the CSS. I'm going to just change the color of the text to red. Red, fantastic! It's the same rendering. Woo. Thank you, Yannick.
Amazing. Thank you.
So any other questions?
Oh no.
The big boss is asking the question.
No, it doesn't have short lambda.
Do you use macro? No, just. Is there any like time frame to get something to, for instance, ACID2 compatibility running or something?
Didn't get. Sorry, it's
is there a time frame to get ACID2 test? You know, the CSS test. You know, the acid test. Is there like
the acid test. No, I don't think we're near the acid test.
Yeah, but is there any plans to get there?
I think yes, we've got actually another tool which a bit like this one where you know, there are lots of CSS test suites like for CSS 2.1, which are standard stuff like Microsoft, and all of them they contribute those kind of stuff tests, and we use them. So you know, we get the XHTML from the source and we display it, and it helps us for stuff. So we're going in this direction. We want ideally we want to be really interoperable with a browser.
So you measured performance when you said you weren't getting 60 frames a second. What target was that you were measuring performance on?
So for performance, so in the desktop actually, like for the video player, we show, so it's pretty small application, but it was near 60 FPS, but depends on the
Flash target, the
Flash target. Yes, I didn't. Okay. I don't.
Or JS target.
How do you say it? Profiling. I did profiling with Flash because it got pretty nice profiling tools now, but not for NME. It seems with the eye, it seems like about the same thing, but I can't say so.
Not tried with the CPP target.
No. Our performance is next step. For now, it's all right, but you can do fancy stuff right now.
Any questions?
what is, for instance, in JavaScript or maybe in Swift, the file size of the framework?
In Swift, it's like 150 KO.
Oh.
So it's
quite
it's
decent,
a lot,
yeah.
but if you compare it to stuff like Flex, it's we have still a lot of way to go to.
Yeah, sure. you have margin.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff can be improved in the code. There are a lot of redundant code, like in CSS parsing or CSS testing, which can be reduced, I think.
Do you support embedded font? And
no,
in what format?
Not yet. It's when it will be supported, so it will be CSS free with add font face. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And so when we got this, we will have embedded font.
So when?
So I don't know. Look at the roadmap. I did one actually last week, but it's not planned actually. But if a lot of people insist, we will do it.
Okay.
A lot of people, you know, in the Dax community, it's like 2 or 3 people.
Millions.
2 or 3 million people.
You didn't answer to the question which format for the fonts used.
Format, I'm sorry, I didn't understood. Well, in Flash, it's going to be, I'm not even sure what kind of format does Flash support. Does anyone knows? TTF? No.
I think to use a font in Flash, you need to convert it to Flash's own format to embed it.
Yeah. So I think it can take the form like in the CSS, you say, okay, load this font, which is going to be a Swift for the Flash target, this kind of thing. So it needs to be a font.
Just wanted to chime in real quick while we're talking about fonts. One of the things, so obviously if you're targeting Flash, Flash is what it is, but if you're in Flash, you can use the font tag to embed a font file. It's supported in HAX 3, and then you can reference the font by its name in the field. So I assume that if your CSS uses the right font name, then it's probably fine and it's embedded.
I think it's already working, but I just forgot to put like the line, in text field embed font again true.
Yeah.
So it's going to be another major release.
That would be the only thing there. Specifically, if you are using OpenFL, one of the things that's changed there. In Enemy, you needed to use Enemy Assets get font, but with OpenFL it works the same way. So long as you use font register font, you reference it by the font's name. But embed fonts is not required, so that would actually be working there for CPP.
So what you mean is that it's already working in Cocktail, but I don't know it.
Exactly.
Right. So you've got to answer. I just have to add 1 or 2 lines of code. So 2 months. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah? Okay.
What about embed JavaScript? I mean, not the whole JavaScript, but what about embedding JavaScript?
Embedding JavaScript engine, you mean?
Embedded just a bit of JavaScript, not the whole. You don't want to declare your function or something, but just make a call in an event, on key up, all these kind of things inside the HTML.
Yeah, I thought about it. I think there is a macro for that.
There is a script. Maybe you can use a script for that. You parse and you have a small interpreter.
I plan to add a sample in Cocktail using H scripts, so you know how to use it. Yeah, it's going to be
plan. Yeah,
good. Yeah, a lot of people have talked about it. Good idea.
Okay, I think we really have to move on. So, any really important question? Otherwise, there is something important you must know. There is a cocktail workshop tomorrow. So this is the place to be. What?
We're going to make cocktails, yeah.
If you have a
2 cocktails workshop actually. Only 1 involves code.
So if you want Yannick to program for you during one day, it's tomorrow.
Yeah, for free.
For free. And with a smile. So, okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Thank you very much.
I'm feeling groovy.